600 square miles, filled with a range of wildlife and predators of every kind.
When you hunt the most dangerous game,
Fish on!
like humans, it's like a narcotic. Everything else kind of becomes secondary.
State Fish and Game Warden, you're under arrest for snagging. Get him, Dean, get him!
But most of us in law enforcement are immortal, or at least we think we are. I understand there's a contract out on you.
Please, don't let him kill me.
He was a solitary lawman taking on armed poachers, all in the name of protecting the wild.
I learned early on that wildlife dies without making a sound. The only voice it's got is yours.
Good evening, gentlemen.
This larger-than-life lawman is real. His cases, true.
They're just as mean as snakes.
Do you know who this is?
I'm Terry Gross, and these are my true life adventures. You are about to experience the dark side in a little-known world called Wildlife Wars.
In 1966, Terry Gross took the oath of a California game warden, swearing to manage and protect the wildlife inhabiting his district. The job became more than an assignment. It grew into a vision quest. Taking on outlaws in vast open spaces is a dangerous and difficult feat. But the only way to gain experience is to experience mistakes. Case in point, Terry's first stakeout, protecting the Grand Roosevelt elk of Gold Beach.
For about 9 cold nights, and cold mornings as well, I basically came into this area and slept with the elk. I got where I could walk right out into the middle of them and just sit down. And one evening, a car comes by real slowly. And goes out of sight. And you're kind of alert. And the animals are a little bit alert, but no big deal. But about 30 minutes later, the same car came back. At that point, I figured we had poachers on the loose. I had no more but rolled over and taken my jacket off when bingo, out of the car comes this bright blue, really powerful spotlight and anchors on one of the elk.
There he is.
Well, I know what's going to happen next. In that micro instant, I thought to myself, that elk is finished. Now elk are going nuts. I knew I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I'm trying to get out of the way because elk are zipping by me and running and jumping over the top of me, and I'm getting up and running with them, but trying to run away from that spotlight. Guys are trying to get 2 or 3, and I'm trying to avoid the bullets if I can, but more importantly, I'm trying to avoid those dad-burn elk. I had one bull jump right over the top of me, and he was so close his hooves took the hat right off my head. If I would have been 2 inches taller, he would have probably killed me. At that time, an elk running in front of me was hit with a rifle bullet. Well, that animal stopped and whirled, and I guess, thinking I was the culprit, spun around and kicked out with her front feet. And I ducked, and instead of hitting me in the face, she caught me on the shoulder. I sailed right into a log very similar to the one I'm sitting on, and redwood is known for its density, even denser than my head. And the lights went out. The next thing I remember was waking up in terrible pain. Boy, my head hurt like nobody's business, and there was a little tiny bird sitting on a branch looking down at me like, what is this? Well, this happened to be a hurting human being. Gosh, it hurt so bad I didn't even want to blink. But after about a half hour in the cool breeze from the ocean, I began to revive. But I learned a valuable lesson. I quickly learned to get on the other side of the road. So when the poachers came in and fired into the herd, which was between the road and the beach, I would be on their opposite side. So when they returned to the vehicle, guess what kind of a surprise they got?
It would take more than a simple change of strategy to resolve the young warden's next case. The assignment seemed impossible. Travel alone 90 miles inland to a place so remote it barely gets a mention on a map. The town of Ishipishi Falls was home to a rogue gang of sturgeon snaggers. Terry's mission was to catch them using their illegal gear to snag the protected fish on the Great Klamath River.
I'd been sent in to work covertly or undercover, which is fairly dangerous and generally done by the most experienced officers. I was handed an assignment I knew nothing about, except I knew the river was full of sturgeon. I knew you couldn't snag them, and I knew what the gear restrictions were, size of hooks and things like that. And I figured, well, I'm going to have to put two and two together and find a way to get the bad guys. I was probably green as a gourd and dumb as a post. But this is how you learn. If you're going to get your feet wet, you have to cross a creek. I knew when I drove in I was going to be viewed with suspicion, and that I would have to somehow establish some credibility. I started by driving into the country store. And I remember in those days, it wasn't quite as nice looking as it is now.
Howdy.
I walked over along the wall, and there were boxes of lures and weights and lines and treble hooks and all kinds of things. We had a whole store full of illegal snag gear. In those days, Cal Fish and Game had a restriction on treble hooks. They couldn't be any wider apart than 1.25 inches. I don't think I saw a set of treble hooks in there any less than 3 inches between points. They were massive treble hooks, and just exactly what you'd use for snagging. The sturgeon are in a world of hurt. You think about it, they're really a magnificent fish. They got a sucker-like mouth and barbels around it so they can kind of feel like a catfish as to what's down there, but very, very gentle fish. I mean, they don't compete with man for anything. Just a place in the river. And yet man is out there making sure that they disappear along with everything else.
Well, what's the damage?
You going fishing?
Well, I think so.
Now, think about that. I got heavy fishing line and big old hooks. Obviously, I'm not going to go chop a tree down with this. I'm going fishing.
What do you mean you think so?
Well, I've never snagged sturgeon before, but sounds like fun. I think I'll give it a try.
Where are you from?
I teach kindergarten over in Arcata. Thought I'd try to fit some fishing in before school starts.
And I tried to be just Joe Absolute Dummy. No threat. Absolutely no threat.
Is that your Jeep out there?
Yep.
Just like to haul some fish.
I plan on hauling a lot of fish once I get this snagging thing mastered.
That's what I'm talking about. Hauling some fish for some friends of mine. For money, of course.
Sounds good to me.
And he said, see that bar across the street? And at that time, he pointed to this bar, which the old Ishipishi bar or club used to sit right here. And I said, yes, I see that. And he said, you be there at 7 o'clock tonight.
Meet a friend of mine there named Johnny. He'll tell you what to do.
Sounds good. Thanks. Appreciate it.
It's 11:53.
And with that, Terry had his first in. The sturgeon were one step closer to relief. But their hero could never have predicted the characters on the other end of the snagger's line.
Fish on! Fish on! Fish on!
Day one complete, and already Terry Gross had his first lead on the illegal snagging ring at Ishipishi Falls. But would the Green Game Warden have enough wits to know how to take advantage of it? This would be the test.
About 7, I walked into the bar, and I remember there's a bunch of noisy guys over in the corner, and the barkeep.
Howdy. What can I do you for? I'm looking for a man named Johnny.
Right behind you.
He said, okay, he's that guy. And he pointed to a little mousy guy.
Thanks. Pictures?
I figured, all right, they're having beers. I'll gather up some beer, and I got several pitchers of beer.
We need 325.
Can you run me a tab? Sure. Thanks. Looking for Johnny? Johnny?
And it just got instantly quiet around the table. And this little mousy guy said, well, who wants to know?
I'm Terry. Storekeeper across the road sent me over. Said you're looking for a man with a strong back and a truck.
Well, we are, yeah. Have a seat. Introduce the boys to you.
And he said, is that beer for me? And I said, well, it's for you and your friends.
I do.
Terry.
Appreciate the beer.
No problem.
Yeah.
We went through those pitchers of beer real fast.
Thanks.
Went and got 4 more pitchers of beer and brought them over. Now I'm their friend.
Gentlemen! Gentlemen!
I told them I wanted to fish and catch some sturgeon, take some home and have some for the freezer, and their old tongues got loosened up with a little bit of John Barleycorn. Everybody was telling me about the snagging and how to go about snagging. I'm beginning to fit right in. And I realized, working undercover, my very first case, I'd finally broken into a sturgeon snagging ring.
Well, I'm your man.
Well, let me talk to Dean, see what he thinks.
Who's Dean?
That's Dean.
And that's when I realized this Man Mountain Dean sitting at the bar was the ringleader of this whole bunch. And it was obvious his word was law. I mean, he could have crushed you just by looking at you and blinking an eye. He was a really big old dude. And I thought to myself at the time, if I have to go wrestle around with him, that's going to be a handful. Especially if I got 9 other guys involved, too.
Fellas? To the mule. To the mule.
Man over there says he wants to help out. He's got a truck. Seems all right to me.
He says, you're in. And I thought, hot dog, this undercover stuff's pretty simple.
Is this his first beer, this guy?
We must have had about 7,000 gallons of beer at that point.
See that guy? Don't mess with him. He'll just as soon kill you as look at you.
It was kind of a tall, string bean sort of guy, and he only had 1 arm.
I don't plan on messing with anybody but some sturgeon.
That's right.
And we laughed and got some more beer, and we're sitting there drinking and just telling all kinds of fish lies. And I heard a...
If you had 2 arms, moron, I'd kill you for that.
Don't let that stop you.
So out the door they went. Nobody else went out the door. Usually when there's a bar fight, everybody goes to look. Well, nobody moved. I thought, God, that's strange. And I could hear a rustling and a shuffling out front.
Let's go.
And they went out the back door. Everybody left.
Parked out front.
Well, hurry up.
So I walked out front. Here's a one-armed guy, and he's been just cut to ribbons.
What do we got here?
And I thought, dang, what do I do now?
It's really bad. We're gonna get you some water.
We're getting the truck. We're gonna get you to
Just
the dock.
breathe. Just breathe.
And I see townspeople coming to help this guy, and I thought, well, he's going to live, and I still need to get these guys. So I'll let it go, but when it's time, I'll file charges on him for this, too.
So much for the easy undercover work. The stakes just got higher and more perilous for the immortal young game warden.